Are we live? Oh, we are live. Hello. Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome and thank you so much for being here. I'm Otis Landerholm. I'm so happy to be with you. It is the 2nd of December of 2021. Can you believe it? Can you believe that we are in December of the year 2021? Where has this year gone to, everybody? My goodness, it's crazy. Crazy. And I'm so happy to be here with you. This is the Empowered Immigrant Live. I'm your host, Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And hey, here today, we're going to be talking about answering the question, is it possible? Is it conceivable? Is it doable to file a U visa from outside the United States? All right, so we're going to answer that question today. But first, I want to welcome each of you. Thank you so much for being here. Remember that here at the Empowered Immigrant Live, we are here to train, to teach, to inspire, and to empower immigrants to make the most out of immigration laws and to make the most out of their lives. All right, today our theme is U visas filed overseas. Like, is it possible? How is that possible to get somebody a U visa if they're not in the United States? All right? And before we get into it, I want to thank everyone who asked your questions. We've got 30 minutes to discuss this topic in English. We'll do it like we always do afterwards in Spanish as well. But oh my gosh, people, we got more questions this time than we've ever had before. All right? So thank you to everybody out there. And thank you for submitting your questions. And I'm going to go fast today, and I'm going to do as best as I can to answer everyone's questions. And if I don't get to your question, but if you still have one, hey, send it to me anyway, and I will make sure to answer it at some point, even if I don't do it right here, right now. So ask me your questions, tune in, tell me who you are, tell me how I can help you, and thank you so much for being here. So let's get into it. And before we get to the questions, I always like to talk about the basics. All right? We got to be clear on the basics. And so what are the basics? What is a U visa? Today we're talking about U visas overseas. But what's a U visa? Well, a U visa is for people who have been the victims of crimes in the United States. All right? So that's going to answer part of the challenge here. To file a U visa overseas, you still have to have been the victim of a crime in the United States. And it's certain specific crimes only. All right? So for example, if somebody was the victim of a felonious assault, they were assaulted and it was a serious assault. If somebody was the victim of domestic violence or rape or kidnapping, or there's lots more of crimes that qualify, but they're all pretty serious crimes that nobody should ever be the victim of, right? And so I hope you weren't the victim of any of these horrible things. And if you were the victim of some horrible thing like this, hey, we can use that thing that happened in the past to maybe apply for an immigration benefit for you for the future. Get it? So the first requirement, just talking about the basics of what is a U visa, you had to have been the victim of a crime, one of the qualifying crimes here in the United States. Second, you have to have been helpful in the investigation or the prosecution of that crime, again, here in the United States. Third, you have to have suffered a substantial amount of harm. And fourth, you have to be, quote unquote, admissible, all right, no problem immigration violations in the past, etc. Or if you are inadmissible, you've got to be eligible for a waiver, all right? And typically with a U visa, we would submit a waiver of any inadmissibility ground. Those are the basics. That's what a U visa is. So now, when could you possibly get one of these if you're outside the United States? Well, basically, there's two situations. All right? Basically, there's two situations. Situation number one, if you were here in the U.S. and you were the victim of a crime and cooperate with the police while you were here in the U.S., and then after that, you returned to your home country, or you left the U.S. after that, and now you want to apply for a visa. So in that case, we can do that. There's a second situation that this comes up, all right? Imagine you're here in the U.S. and you were the victim of one of the qualifying crimes here in the U.S. and helpful with the investigation or prosecution of that crime, but you want to include a spouse or children who are not in the U.S. See, here's the cool thing about U visas. You can include family members even if they weren't the victims of anything, even if they don't directly qualify. You can include spouses and children, or if you're a minor, you can include parents in your application as derivatives, and you can do that even if the derivative spouse and children, or in some instances parents, are overseas. Get it? Those are the two situations. And yes, both of those situations are possible. Got it? That's the main thing. That's the main thing I wanted to tell y'all today, everybody. There it is. And so what is the process for doing that? All right, it's basically a 4-step process, not too complicated. All right, step 1, you've got to win the U visa with USCIS first. So you submit your I-918, your waiver, all your evidence showing you qualify, the signed certification by the police official, all of that stuff, you submit it to USCIS. Step 2 is you wait, and you wait, and you wait even more. All right? U visas have horribly huge backlogs. Right now, if you file your case, you're looking at like a 15, hopefully less, right? But it could be as much as 15 years or so of a wait before it finally gets approved, unless the law changes and there's a lot of pressure to allow for more U visas to be approved because the backlogs are ridiculous, right? Step 3, once USCIS finally approves that visa, you've got to file what they call a DS-160 through the Department of State. That's what DS stands for, through the U.S. Department of State to get a consular interview either for yourself or for your derivatives who are outside the U.S. And step 4, you go to the interview, get your visa in your passport, and then use that to get on a plane and enter the U.S. or to cross through the border, with a visa. And then congratulations, here you are. You've got your visa. After you enter the U.S., you can wait 3 years and you can apply for a green card. Okay, that's the whole process. That's the way it works. A lot of people ask, a lot of people doubt, right, and don't really know whether or not it's possible to get a U visa if you're outside the U.S. The answer is yes, it is possible, people. Yes, it is possible, but it is not easy, and it is a long process, and we'd love to help you with that if that makes sense for you. But for today's purposes, I just want you to know that yes, it is possible, and I hope that you got that out of this, okay? So that's all I wanted to say for today. Now I want to get to your questions. And as I said, we've got lots of questions today, and so thank you to everyone who asked your questions. And hey, if you got more questions or if you're tuning in, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Empowered Immigrant Live. I'm Otis Landerholm. Send me your questions if you've got them. Or hey, just give me a hello, give me like a thumbs up if you're liking this. I love it. So be with me here, and thank you for being here. So our first question comes from Luis. Luis, I love your name, by the way. My brother's name is Louis. And so, so Luis, thank you, and hello, and good afternoon. And your question is, I have a friend from Nicaragua. Okay, I have a friend from Nicaragua who lived in San Francisco from 1985 to 1994. Okay, got it. And then he went back to Nicaragua by land in 1994, and he was 11 years old at that time. And then he lost his residency because he spent all those years outside the U.S. in Nicaragua. But then he came back to San Francisco with a tourist visa and ended up overstaying. He's trying to find ways to get his residency back. Is there any advice you can give him? Thanks. Luis, great question. Thank you for that. Thank you for asking. And so, I'd love to get to the bottom of it. But the way to do that would be let's do a consultation and find out. Because I've got some questions for your friend. All right. For example, is he in a relationship? Because marriage to a U.S. citizen could help him out. He entered with a visa, right? Another question is, does he have fear of returning to Nicaragua? my office has filed lots of asylum cases from Nicaragua, and asylum could be an option if he qualifies, all right? Don't file asylum if he doesn't have a well-founded fear of persecution on account of, his race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or his membership in a particular social group. Sorry to go into that. Check out my videos for asylum. But if that's in the realm of possibility, hey, let's do a consultation about it. Another question to ask is, has your friend ever been the victim of a crime, harm, abuse, something like that here in the United States? If so, a U visa might be an option as well. All right? So to help him out, all right, to help him or anyone in his situation out, I recommend, hey, pick up the phone, contact our office. Our phone number is here below. Everybody that calls our firm, I want to just explain this. Everybody that calls our firm gets a free, yes, free evaluation of their situation with our trained intake specialists. So they can at least give him an idea of, hey, would it be worth his time and his money to come in, to pay for, to reserve a full-on consultation and discuss it in more depth? They know the questions to ask to see does he have a possible scenario, possible option that we could go into more depth about with an actual attorney, right? And sometimes people do, sometimes people don't. But it's like, hey, there's no problem in at least calling to have that free evaluation to figure that out, right? And then, if anything else comes up in the future or otherwise, you got our number, you can stay in touch. So, Luis, thank you so much. I hope that was helpful. Look forward to helping in any way I can. The next question comes from Samuel. Samuel says, okay, well, this is a serious one. Samuel says, I was sexually assaulted by several men as a child here in the United States. All right, wow, that's intense. All right, I was sexually assaulted by several men as a child here in the United States, but just this year I made a police report because they started making an investigation because I started seeing a psychiatrist. Does that qualify for a U visa? Wow. All right, Samuel, thank you. Wow, that's horrible. That's awful. And thank you for sharing that. All right? And Samuel, I want you to know, and I want you to hear it, that you are not alone. All right? You are not alone. And people that are listening to me, I don't know how many people are listening to me, but listen, the statistics are crazy, people. All right? Recently I was reading that nationwide here in the United States, it's over 80% of women, and it's over 40%, I think it's 43% of men have experienced or have reported experiencing some form of sexual harassment or some form of sexual assault in their lifetime. The numbers are way, it is crazy, the situation, the truth about it, all right? And Samuel, thank you for sharing it. It takes tremendous courage to share it. It probably took tremendous courage to share it even with the psychiatrist. And so great job. And my answer to you is yes, you likely have a strong case for a U visa. All right? Someone who is the victim of sexual assault, that is definitely one of the qualifying crimes for a U visa. And now you might say, oh, but wait, the crime happened so long ago and I only reported it just now. Yes, that's true. And yes, I've won U visas in that situation. All right? And so, Samuel, good for you for reporting it. And thank you for reporting it. And thank you for having the courage to ask that question on YouTube, right? On Facebook. Thank you for doing that. That's amazing. All right? And I wish you the very, very best. And yes, I highly recommend going through the process and applying for a U visa. U visas can never be guaranteed, right? Through a video, we would need to talk about it in much more depth to understand exactly what happened and to read that police report and to go into depth. But just based on what you've said here, I'd say yes, you likely qualify. You likely have a strong case to qualify for a U visa. Got it? All right. I wish you the best of luck. All right? I absolutely wish you the best of luck. And if my office can help you in any way, please contact us. Okay? You know, speaking of sexual violence, everybody, right? It's like, I know that people have gone through sexual violence because I hear it in my consultations. All right? Lots of times people are like, oh, I don't know who I can tell. And people are like, oh, nobody's going to believe me. Let me tell you, in an immigration consultation, these things do come up because these things can make an enormous difference in whether or not a person has a case to stay in the United States or don't they, right? When, you know, we've had cases with previous law firms where they filed a case and never asked the question, hey, was there sexual violence in the past? And now the case was denied, and now the client comes and meets with us, and we have the courage to ask it. And it's like, okay, let's reopen that case, and let's fight the case that should have been fought originally had the previous law firm done their job. We have cases like that, all right? And so anyway, I wanted to say that. Samuel, thank you again for asking that question. All right, my next question is from Douglas, all right? Douglas, your question is, my residence card expires, okay? My residence card expires in March of 2022, and I just applied for citizenship. Is there a way to request an extension, or do I need to submit a renewal? Good question. You're applying for citizenship, but your green card's expiring at the same time. All right, what to do? Good question. My best advice, and what I recommend my clients to do, is to, yes, go ahead and file your I-90 to request to renew your green card too. And I know you will likely get your citizenship case approved before they even renew your green card. But I recommend renewing it anyway, the vast majority of the time, and here's why, all right? When you renew your green card, it gives you more flexibility to request a travel stamp if you were to need to leave the United States, and it gives you more flexibility to request an extension of work authorization if you have an issue at your job. All right, imagine you lost your job. I hope that doesn't happen. And now you need to go apply for a new job, but now your green card is expired. Well, that's easy to explain if we've got your renewal application right here, right? And so I do recommend going ahead and going through the process of requesting to renew your green card, pay the extra filing fee. I know that's a pain. Renew that green card, and then when it comes to, you know, hopefully it doesn't, hopefully it's not necessary. Hopefully it's just like an extra piece of caution. But that's the way I like to handle my immigration cases. You know, file the main case, but think of plan B, plan C. Think of all the strategies that we can so that you're covered, right? So you don't have problems with your work, so you don't have problems with travel if that's what you need to do. Douglas, good question. Thank you for asking it. All right, my next question comes from Malik. Malik, thank you for your question. Malik, you say, hi. If immigration accuses you of previous marriage fraud, but if my current marriage is real, but my wife now wants to withdraw the immigration application and we're not on good terms, if I'm in that situation, do I qualify for VAWA? Okay, there's a lot going on in that question. All right, there's a lot going on in that question. Malik, good question. Thank you for asking it. All right, that will perhaps be a tough VAWA case, but here's the thing. All right, here's the truth. To give you good advice about all of this, like let's meet, let's potentially run all your FOIAs, all your records with immigration. Let's look at all the evidence. Let's see what the best option is, okay? Please don't just submit a case of VAWA without really thinking it through. Because, you know, to be eligible for VAWA, you have to be the victim of abuse or of extreme cruelty, right? And now here you say you and your wife are not on good terms, but what really happened? Was there really abuse or extreme cruelty. Also, you say that immigration accused you of prior marriage fraud. Now, the question for you, Malik, is like, did you really commit marriage fraud? And did USCIS actually make like a 204C fraud finding in your case? It's like, those are the details. We want to run all the records and really look at it, okay? And don't just say, oh, I remember the immigration officer was skeptical about my marriage. It's like, let's really get into the details to see whether or not you need to file for VAWA. Maybe you don't. And if you need to, hey, are you eligible for it? Hope that's helpful. Thank you for asking that question. I got a couple more questions here, and I see some other questions coming in, all right? So the next question I see comes from Cleopatra. So, Cleopatra, thank you so much for asking your question. Your question says, good day. I'm in the United States on a 2-year green card. In April of this year, I enlisted in the Army. Wow. Thank you for your service. Cool. All right. So I enlisted in the Army, and now I qualify for naturalization through the Army. Yeah, that's true. However, my American-born spouse has filed for a divorce, and I am curious to know if divorce will have any effect on my naturalization proceedings. Does a divorce while I'm on conditional green card affect naturalization through military service? Thanks. All right, Cleopatra, great question. Thank you for asking it. I'm sorry to hear you're going through a divorce. All right. Thank you for your work with the armed forces. All right. So first, you can get an I-751 approved, all right, despite your divorce. Second, you can get naturalization approved despite your divorce. The main question for immigration in your situation will be, hey, was your marriage bona fide from the beginning? All right, should they have granted your green card from the beginning? That's going to be their main question. And as long as it was bona fide from the beginning, you should be okay. All right, you will want professional help with how to navigate that issue, because whenever you got a green card through marriage and now you're divorcing, it does cause immigration to ask additional questions. So my best advice is to get professional help to navigate that situation. But in my opinion, you should probably be successful, all right? You just want to be careful how you present it. So great. Thank you for asking that. And yeah, I wish you the best of luck on your case. If my office can help you at all, give us a call. All right, the next question comes from Michael. Michael, thank you for submitting your question. You say, I have a work permit. I want to know how to get a permanent visa or green card. I need to talk to a lawyer. All right, well, Michael, awesome. Give us a call. We'd love to do that. All right. The first step there is we want to see how you qualified for your work permit. And the second step, we want to see what options, what strategies might exist to apply for a green card. And sometimes there are options, sometimes there aren't. And we can certainly look into it. Give us a call. Let's do it. All right. So I see some other questions that came in just right now. One says it's from Sportman. Sportman, hello. So you say, hello, your program is very efficient. What can happen if a Cuban doctor deserts from an official mission and reaches the U.S. border? Well, that's interesting. All right, that's interesting. People do have the right to seek asylum. Asylum is not easy, and it's not automatic, but people do have the right to do that. Will he return to Mexico for the Remain in Mexico program, the MPP, Migrant Protection Protocols, yeah. Sportman, thank you for asking that question. My best advice, since I'm a bit over time, why don't you call our office and let's talk it through, all right? It would be better to do that in a consultation, and we can really go into it. I received one from R.S. Diary. All right, thank you. You say, I want to go back to my country. I have a passport only. I'm presently in the United States. Yes, you can do that. All right, if you have a passport to go back to your country, you ask, can you fly? Yes. All right, the U.S. government doesn't restrict who leaves the U.S., but you will need valid passport to go to the country where you want to go. All right, and so let's see. I just see another one here from Mahesh. Mahesh, thank you so much for asking that question. You say, how long will the U visa take? It looks like is your question, right? And it looks like you applied in January of 2018. All right, Mahesh, it's going to take forever. All right, the bottom line is it's going to take a long time. You're looking at over 10 years, okay, for your U visa to be approved. And you can be eligible for a work permit while you're waiting, all right? But unless the law changes, that is how long it will take, because the backlogs are enormous, and current law says that the government can only approve 10,000 U visas every year. I've got a whole video regarding it's like U visa update for 2021. I'm about to do my U visa update for 2022 because we got the new year coming up next month. And so, you know, stay tuned for that, Mahesh. But the bottom line is for now, you could check out those videos. It's going to take a long time. No doubt about it. All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much. That is all that we have time for today. If I haven't answered your question, hey, I still will. Send it. Send it to me. All right? And if this information was useful, please subscribe to our channel here in YouTube. Click the notifications bell. We'll get you additional legal updates and news. You know, there's things happening with immigration reform. There's the Build Back Better proposal that was passed in the House. It's going to the Senate. I'm going to be talking about that next week. So stay tuned for that next week. If you have an immigration case, please give us a call. We are here to help. All right? Thank you so much for being with me. Again, I'm Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C., where we fight for your American dream, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live